This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And now we know, Matt.
Now we know. Starting to fall into place here.
Steelers versus Vikings. That will be September 28th at Croke Park in Dublin, Ireland. 9:30 a.m. kickoff local time.
Yeah.
So
Eastern, right.
Yeah. It'd be, that'd be what, 2:30?
I guess.
Dublin
you
time.
said 5-hour difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
Not that different from a 1 o'clock start.
No. I mean, they're going to be over there all week, and you would think their bodies are going to be used to that. It won't be like...
So the game's over by 4:30. No, actually 5:30 local time-ish.
Mm-hmm. Like 12:30 here.
7 o'clock. No later than 7 o'clock, you're getting on a flight, and you're back into Pittsburgh by, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I guess you would. Okay. Local time. Yeah. Okay. So about 12 hours after kickoff.
Well,
No, more than that. Okay. Yeah, but it's like a 5-hour flight, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
5.5. No, I'm glad we know. And we thought there was a good chance Minnesota would be the team. Strangely, they're going to play 2 games in Europe at 2 different cities.
Well, I was going to get onto that here as the rest of the NFL announced its entire international schedule. The Vikings are going to be the first team to play back-to-back games in different countries.
Right. Like the Jags did it in London, which is kind of their home away from home.
But they stayed in London.
Right. They didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. So the Vikings are at the Steelers in Week 4. That's a Week 4 game.
Oh, it's Week 4. Okay.
The following week, the Vikings are at Cleveland. So they're the visitor in both of these games, too.
Oh, okay. So they're knocking off 2 road games out of their schedule back-to-back. Wow. Okay. Hopefully the Vikings don't pillage pillage Europe like they did in the past. Right?
Yeah. All these games are 9:30 starts. That's in Week 5. Then in Week 6, you've got Denver and the Jets playing again at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London.
So the Steelers is the first international game of the year?
Well, no, because you have the one in Brazil.
Oh, right. That's happening again this year.
Yeah, that's September 6th, I believe.
Is that Week 1?
Yeah.
I think it was Week 1 last year.
Yeah, it's a Week 1 game.
Packers,
we know
Eagles.
the Chargers are going to be the host team for that. We don't know who the opponent is.
Oh, they haven't released that one yet?
They haven't released that
the
one
Brazil
yet.
game.
So in Week 6, you got that game, Broncos at Jets, or versus Jets, I should say. Then you get the Rams versus the Jaguars. That one's at Wembley in Week 7.
Do the Jags ever go anywhere else in Europe?
Not
that they
in
should.
Europe, not really.
I wouldn't think so,
stay
right. Yeah.
They stay in London.
Yeah.
So that's the Week 7 game. The Week 10 matchup, we don't have one in those next 3 weeks, but Week 10, November 9th, you get Falcons and Colts. That one's at Olympic Stadium in Berlin.
Wow. That's the first game ever, I think, in Germany.
In Berlin,
right?
yeah.
Okay. These are all 9:30 local starts or Eastern
starts? Yeah,
starts?
that's a 9:30 start there. Then you get, in Week 11, Washington versus Miami. That one's in Santiago, my Spanish not great. No bueno. Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. Would you say it's in Madrid?
Well done. Yeah.
There you go.
You'd have to take the extra mile.
Yeah. And then that is it for those games. And, of course, that will be – so Week 11 is that final –
So they're between Week 4 and Week 11.
Yeah.
All through Europe.
Yeah.
And there's more than ever, right?
And you've got the other one that's going to be in Brazil.
Right.
Also.
That'll be early.
That'll be earlier.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it really is expanding from just a couple years ago. And I think you even brought up yesterday that you think there might be as many as every team might go over once a year.
I don't know if that's going to happen in 5 years.
Right,
I don't know if it happens in 10 years, but I do think eventually it will happen.
And it's some stretch, 18-game season, maybe 2 buys, that type of thing.
And I think the Vikings playing back-to-back games over there.
Yeah, it's kind of a first test card. Yeah.
Sets the stage. Okay, what's this do? How do the dynamics of this work out?
I forget, where do they go after they play the Steelers? What city?
They go to London.
Okay, so they're flying.
It's not
a far flight.
We
but right.
went through that yesterday. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah, okay. But, I mean, there's be more travel over there. Okay.
I would think that would give them a pretty good advantage over Cleveland.
I was thinking that too. Like, you hope Steelers beat them and then they wipe the floor with the Browns after they've been in Europe for a while and used to this thing.
Well, I would think, because they're going over there for 2 games, I'll bet they don't go early to Dublin.
Probably true.
Like you probably don't want to, especially that early in the season, like pack up and move everything over there for 2 full weeks or anything like that. You probably want to make it more like 10 days.
I mean, we'll know this stuff tomorrow night, but none of them will have a bye before.
Right.
Maybe Minnesota gets a bye after.
Some of those ones that are later.
Right.
Later in the season will definitely probably end up having buys.
Buys afterwards.
But they typically don't do the buys. I think that's one of the reasons why the Steelers, they didn't want, and we'll find out whether the league acquiesces or not, but I think they
asked for not to have a bye in week 5.
They requested not to have a week 5 bye.
Because it's so early.
It's so early.
That's the reason why. It's like, okay. And again, it's a 5-hour flight, which isn't that much different than Seattle or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's doable. You're just going a different direction.
Right.
You know.
So, but that's interesting. That is a home game for the Steelers. So you're losing the home date. You might have to go, I don't know if the league will do this or not, make them go on the road then the following week.
Oh, I would think you'd stay at home. I mean, that's asking a lot. And basically just because it's an odd year. Odd years, AFCs get extra.
Well, but the other thing, though, is that you don't want to stack up a bunch of home games and then have to play a bunch of games on the road later in the season.
Yeah, maybe a short road trip. Maybe that's a Browns-Bengals, something like that.
Could be.
As opposed to, you wouldn't send them to Seattle the next week, I would hope, Yeah. Or the opposite end of the country.
I did see some things earlier today about here. So in terms of travel for the season.
We know like the miles and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at this now, all 4 of the AFC North teams are in the top 9 in terms of miles traveled this year.
Do they all go overseas?
No.
Okay, because you said the Browns.
The Steelers and Browns both go overseas. That pumped up their travel a little bit. So the Steelers have the 9th fewest miles traveled this year.
Oh, really? Okay, I would have thought they'd been higher.
15,062.
Obviously, AFC North travel is tight
very easy.
As any division in the league.
The Browns, who go to London,
also have to go to London.
They are 8th at 15,028.
8th most?
8th fewest.
Fewest, okay.
The Ravens have the 3rd fewest at 10,647, and the Bengals come in with the fewest miles traveled this year, 8,753.
Interesting. I definitely think it's an advantage not to travel super far, but I think this would be more of a 70s, 80s, 90s things. I mean, travel's come a long way.
A lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, you can pick up 100 miles through the air pretty quick, with blink of an eye.
On the opposite side of that, and not surprisingly, the teams that travel the most are all West Coast teams.
West Coast teams,
yeah.
I'm sure.
So the Chargers travel 37,086 miles.
You said the Steelers are like 8 or 9?
The Bengals.
Bengals are 8 or 9.
The Bengals have 8,753 miles. So about a quarter of what the Chargers travel this year.
Which I guess isn't that unusual. I don't know what division the AFC West plays. Do they play
the AFC West and the NFC West are by far at the bottom of this because
they have to be.
The Rams are second.
Even their division games are far.
34,832. Seahawks are 31,302. Jacksonville's at 29,006.
I'm almost certain the NFC South plays or NFC West plays both Souths.
I told you that like months ago.
Well, other people told me that too, but that's a far travel too. They got to go to New Orleans, Atlanta. I mean, they got long road games.
The surprising one to me is that the Colts are in the top 10 in terms of miles traveled at 25,089. They're pretty centralized in the middle of everything.
There's no real super long road trip that they could take. There's not a Miami to Seattle type of trip.
So you look at those. Really, to me, the AFC North and the NFC North. In terms of overall actual being geographically sound.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that are in both conferences.
Okay. Explain.
Well, they're all grouped together.
Yes, there's not why is Miami with these other three? Why is Dallas?
Why wouldn't Miami
with
be
Washington?
in the AFC South? With
right.
those teams?
Right. Like if you would
there would
actually
be less travel.
take the 32 cities and put them as close as they possibly could, Miami wouldn't be with Buffalo.
Right.
Dallas wouldn't be with Washington or the Giants.
Right.
Those type of things. Now the West is all West, but it's just West.
They could have,
right?
If they really wanted to split the league up into geographically,
you
could move some teams out of conferences and do things like Denver and Seattle, which used to be in the same division.
Right. Dallas and Houston could be in the same division.
Yeah.
Right. But they're
Would
far
make
from
more sense.
It would. And there has been some movement over the years, but Dallas is never leaving the East.
No.
Miami's never leaving the East. I mean, there's just enough tradition there now that the rivalries have started.
I mean, they did move the Cardinals out of the East.
Yeah, but they were now, which is kind of funny, actually. Yeah. I mean, they were St. Louis at one point.
Yeah. Well, they were Pittsburgh or Cleveland at one point.
Right. But, I mean, they're Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, that's far from the East. But
pretty far.
They're also not as rivalry storied as some other franchises.
Right.
Like the Steelers are always going to be in the Browns and Ravens. And,
Like you could make a division now. You could have, I mean, there's nothing that would stop the Chargers and Rams from playing in the same division.
Or Jets and Giants. I was about to say the
Jets
same
and
thing.
Giants,
Right.
Yeah.
You definitely could. It wouldn't be that big a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get why they don't. They want to get different teams coming in every year, and that. But you could still set up rivalries with.
I mean, New York, you could easily do two divisions, an NFC and an AFC one that is all close enough. One of them gets Buffalo, one of them gets New England, obviously. Yeah. So what's also interesting, which I probably won't be able to dig up until it's all Warren Sharp. I'm just stealing them. Is he'll break down all the rest after the real schedule comes out.
Yeah.
And I think that to me means more than the actual travel miles. It's not like they're going by horse and buggy.
Yeah, but there's still something.
It matters.
Involved. Yeah.
It matters. I mean, if someone's at 8,000 and someone's at 40,000, that's a lot more.
It's a lot of time
over the course of the year.
Yeah, it's a lot of time on a plane.
I mean, this is coming from someone that doesn't travel with the team or travel to every road game like you guys do. I mean, when you guys come home on a Monday from some of these road trips, I'm like, that wore their butts out.
Well, put it this way: if you're on the West Coast for a night game, and you play the next week.
Oh, you're
That's
in trouble.
a severe disadvantage.
You're in huge trouble. Yeah. Those type
even
of
if you're at home, because you're not getting back from a night game. Like I can remember games when the Chargers
lose a day of practice.
When the Chargers were in San Diego, you had to be on the plane and out of there by a certain time in the morning. Like you couldn't fly out of there. I think after midnight or something like that.
Oh, that's like a San Diego rule. That has nothing to do with the NFL.
No, nothing to do. Like you had to be. Let's get in and get out of there, because if you don't get out of there by then, you weren't getting out.
So if it was, I mean, it's their time
till the morning.
Monday night's not 9:00 Western. It's 6, but everyone's got a shower and media interviews and all that stuff too.
Get on the plane and get out of there. Like, you can't have any bus breakdown or anything like that. It had to be on time.
And every team's dealt with it, but just in recent memory, I mean, there was the time that the Steelers got laid over or got stuck in Kansas City, and I mean, like,
don't remind me of that.
Yeah, that had to be brutal. I mean,
stuff happens.
The
more you're on the plane, anybody who's flown knows that anything could happen with a plane.
Now the teams travel with some advantages. I mean, there's definitely...
But planes still break down. A lot of the Kansas City trip.
Right.
Stuff happens. Things break.
Yep.
And you're stuck.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, if you have a West Coast, and it's true for the West Coast teams too, obviously, a cross-country Monday night or cross-country night game, especially Monday, and you got to prepare for a short week is criminal to me. I mean, that's such a disadvantage.
So we get Steelers Vikings week 4. Might be a good time to get the Vikings.
Young quarterback. Yeah. He's still getting his feet wet. We'll see what their first 3 games look like.
Some new pieces on the offensive line. They may still be feeling some things out there.
Yeah, I mean, the entire interior is new.
Yeah.
3 new starters on the interior. Basically, the entire D-line's new. I don't think they need the continuity as much. But, yeah, McCarthy, how much practice time will he have? How much preseason time will he have?
I would think they almost have to play him because he didn't play in the last preseason.
Mm-hmm. I would think he plays a fair amount. Maybe the last game they sit him if he's looking good, or
but you
play
get
it by ear.
You get three games of which to get film of him, but he's still a young starter. So it's kind of the best of both worlds there.
It's a good way of putting it. I mean, it's better probably than week 1.
Right, you don't know
what exactly.
They're not going to show you anything in the preseason.
Sure,
but you're getting him. When we talk about this stuff, the teams go back 3 games and look at what the team is. So you're getting 3 games worth of film, which is what you would look at, and now you're going to have a pretty good idea of what this young man can do.
His tendencies, right. I mean, you're going to know the O'Connell offense pretty well, but I'm sure it won't be carbon copy for Darnold, no matter. Interesting. Yeah, it's not a bad time at all.
So we'll see if that works out for the Steelers. I don't know when Minnesota is going over there. I assume they won't want to be there more than 10 days, but...
Okay, yeah. Did you think the Steelers probably travel on Tuesday?
I think they'll leave earlier in the week since they are the home team designate.
The chances are they'll play a Sunday 1:00 game. I doubt it'll be a night game before you go over there.
Probably not.
And then would it be better if that's home or away? Week 3.
It almost has to be away.
Because you got a home one.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you're going to play that one home and we're talking about coming back,
Yeah.
It almost, I would think. I mean, just
I don't know that they'd have a way on both sides of it.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Or they're shorter ones.
Yeah.
Interesting. But no, things are starting to fall into place.
Well, hey, I'd be all for some of the division games being played early.
I think putting them all together is crazy.
That was
too
ridiculous.
I thought it was ridiculous. 3 in 11 days is just flat out wrong. But the fact that all those division games happened so close together, especially for the Steelers, but throughout the division, I think you got to make the whole season more valuable. I mean, if Lamar, heaven forbid, has an ankle for that week, well, they're cooked. Or Burrow or Watt or whatever. Like, at least spread it out. I can understand playing the same team twice in a month, but not even like twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah, you got 18 weeks to get these games in. You can spread it out.
Spread them around a little bit, right?
But we'll see how that goes. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will be joined by Michael McQuaid of NFL Ireland. He's been a guest of the show before. We've both been guests on his podcast. We appreciate his input on all this stuff, and we'll talk about
I bet he's psyched.
What this means now that we know who it is and where and when. Well, we knew the where, but the when. What this is going to mean for Ireland and how excited they are for all that. So we'll do that when we come back. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the Justin Miller hotline by Michael McQuaid of NFL Ireland and Steelers Ireland. How you doing, Michael? This is a big day for you.
Bet you're psyched.
Lads, what's the crack? It's good to hear from you again. Brilliant day, exciting day. How are you doing?
We're fantastic.
But
great
probably
to know.
Now you know. You've known this game was coming. You've known that the Steelers will be the host team in this, but now we know that the Vikings are the visiting team here in this situation, and we know the date. Does this kind of nail everything down, bring it all together, and what's the reaction like right now?
It's funny because when I think we spoke at the Combine, but also I was on SNR when the game was announced around the Super Bowl time, and obviously it hits you then as a fan of the game first and foremost over here, but it does seem like today was the day where it did sort of become real, where you see a matchup and you see Coach Tomlin talking about what it means to him as a coach, as a person, and also what it means to the team. So certainly there's honestly, not just from a Steelers back view here, there is a massive excitement of this game today, like even on television in Ireland, both north and south. Top of the sports news is not Gaelic football, it's not hurling, it's the fact that the Steelers are coming to town, which, guys, is pretty surreal. It's really, really cool to see, and I know a lot of people here are just marking their calendars for just a little over 4 months, because before you know it, we'll be here in Renegade and Grove Park.
Maybe, yeah, I guess it might. There's a home game. So, a couple things, Michael. I mean, what's the usual Dublin weather in late September, week 4 of the NFL season?
That might be the most subjective question I'll be asking.
It could be all over the place, right?
Yeah. Video.
Not real predictable,
seen the video
right?
Today from, if you've seen the video today from Dublin Castle, like literally here, look, lads, I can't convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? But it was very warm. It was great. It could be rainy. It could be snowing. It could be 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Nobody knows. And that's the joy with Ireland. You just land up, see how you get on. But we sort of know that this team's ready for any weather, and when you're certainly playing in the AFC North and seeing games like that Cleveland game last year, I feel like they'll be ready, even if it is a bit of a fair or a cold day in late September. Well,
that's why my ancestors moved to Western Pennsylvania. So you got we get kind of used to the weather being all over the place, but it has to be. Do you feel like? What's your feeling now? Is it relief? Is it exhilaration? I mean, you've put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yeah, look, it does. It really, really does mean a lot. I think from the last time we spoke, we had Pat Fry move over here, and he genuinely was really interested in being here and meeting the people and seeing the stadium, and it was great to meet him. Cam Hayward came over. He was over a couple of weeks ago. We've obviously had the draft party. Brett Kiesel was over, and he was great crack. It does. I think there's days like this where, yes, it's very, very busy, but as a fan, first and foremost, you have to appreciate the magnitude of what's happening, and not just that there, but just how much it means to the organization. I'm like, lads, I'm over the moon. Like, it's great that we're playing the Vikings, but I keep telling people as a joke over here, the Steelers could bring over a Pee-wee football team and play them, and it would still sell out. So we're look, it's great because for so many people, and look, I know there's probably Steelers fans from the UK and Europe as well listening to this, but there's so many people that get out, like just like myself, get on a plane 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning and go to London or go to Germany, or like for a lot of people, they fly across the Atlantic. To have this opportunity to head down on a train, or in some cases in Dublin, just walk over to see a game is really special, and it's going to be just a great moment when it happens, and I can't wait, and hopefully we can just savor every moment of that game.
So what percentage would you guess will be Steeler fans? I mean, it sounds like a lot of these, I know a lot of these overseas games are not, and a Cardinal fan will go. I mean, fans that aren't teams aren't participating, but would you think 50% Steeler fans, a third of the building is Steeler fans? What's your guess?
If it's anything compared to, and I try and compare it to different games in London, for example, whenever the Green Bay Packers played the Giants, probably one of the more high-profile games over here in the last few years, in terms of fan bases, it was really 50-50. When the Buffalo Bills came over a couple of years ago, it was 40 or 50% Bills fans in the crowd. I think, if you're somewhere in that region of about 40 to 55% Steelers fans, and then here's the thing, you're going to have, obviously, and people know this already, but you'll have that mix of different teams. Mm-hmm. The Vikings, from seeing them and from sort of seeing what they've done over the last couple of years, they've really bought into going internationally. And obviously, it's really interesting for them because they're going to play week 4 in Dublin, week 5 in London. And from speaking to Coach O'Connell today, he seems really up for it. I'll be interested to see how many fans go to each of those games because it's over 2 weeks. But they have a lot of fans in the UK and Ireland, the Vikings, so it'll be interesting to see maybe 10 or 20%. I guess when it's, distinctive colours with the black and gold or black and yellow and purple, it'll definitely be noticeable. But I would definitely expect, especially for the Steelers, a high turnout because it's such a one-off. The reality is the team have not played a game internationally since 2013. Ironically,
against the Vikings.
Team, so, yeah, and like the Vikings have played 2 or 3 times over the last 5 years in London. They seem to want to do that as much as possible in terms of marketing, and that's their prerogative. And look, for fans over here, it's great to see any game. I feel like it is more of a one-off in the sense of it's the first time in a long time for Pittsburgh. So you would expect to potentially, see a lot more fans in the black and the gold of the Steelers as well.
Yeah, it should be very exciting, and even for as you mentioned, the people who maybe not be fans of one team or the other, just to come out and see the spectacle of it all. Yeah. It just to be able to take in an NFL game without having to watch it on television. You just want to. It's a monumental event that's never happened before.
I think the thing that people are saying over here is, and since it was announced, is arguably it is probably the biggest sporting event to ever take place on the island of Ireland outside of our own sports. And
right.
The running joke here is we have the All-Ireland final in both Gaelic football and in hurling. And the reason I'm saying that is because basically you can't get a ticket for it. It's 82,000 people. Like, you literally have to ring people and ask the parish priest or ask different clubs to get a ticket. You're talking about people seeing the game for the first time. I tell you what, lads, by God, if they're sitting in that stadium in September, have done very well, because this is the hottest ticket in town. I'm getting phone calls from guys in Kerry and Cork who I don't know who they are looking tickets. So people want to go and see Mike Tomlin and the Steelers lads in Dublin, which is great to see.
So, Michael, I'm sure there's plenty of Guinness at Croke Park, but is there hot dogs, nachos? Like, what are the concessions like for there? I mean, the guys are making their travel plans now. What are they going to eat and drink while they're watching the game?
Well, I can confirm and let people be happy about this. There's definitely Guinness there, lads, 100%.
Good start.
Sometimes, though, like from being at the different London games and from being at the different games in Germany, etc., I think sometimes I need to confirm this. I think the NFL maybe take over the concessions a little bit and make it a bit more Americana to an extent. So I would expect nachos and stuff. What I would say, and hot dogs and everything, I would say, look, I mean, anybody that's going to come over, and I know and I've heard, and it's fantastic, there's a lot of fans coming over from Pittsburgh and beyond, just within the state as well, and beyond that. There's going to be so much to do. Like every bar, there's going to be team bars and stuff, and you'll be able to eat and taste and drink traditional Irish dishes and palates, shall we say, over a number of days. But yeah, it should be quite similar to what you sort of expect in a stadium, I would say, in America on game day. I'll try and find out for the next time we talk, I promise.
I was thinking the week leading up to the game might be as much fun as the game.
Oh yeah, like I'm telling you now, I tell everybody this. Tom Brady was over here last week on the equivalent of like the Tonight Show in Ireland, and for me, like I've been very lucky to go to a few Super Bowls. One of the greatest experiences I had was that first game in Munich, which was his last game internationally. The week, it was different, and everybody in the city could feel some sort of emotion or feeling. It was just very, very special. Every bar was popping off. There was food stalls. It was just after Oktoberfest coming into Christmas, so it was very, very cool. I feel like, you're bang on. Even from, we obviously at this time will know tomorrow night. We don't know who the Steelers have got week 3. But I can imagine if it's a road game, you're going to see Steelers fans flying in on the Saturday before, going to the bar to watch the game at 6 o'clock local, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, or 9 o'clock local, which is 4 p.m. in the late window, and just having a week of it. And I can even imagine now people will do that. It'll probably be an East Coast game if I had to put money on it, but there'll be stuff happening throughout the week. Usually, the commissioner does stuff on the Saturday, like a big fan festival. For every international game, there's at least a couple of pubs for each team. Let me make it very clear. Dublin will be like nuts. It'll be like anything the league has not seen before. Steelers fans, Vikings fans will have a week for the ages. I can definitely guarantee that right here, right now in May.
Well, I can imagine that we may be doing some shows over there, at some of those local establishments, and that'll be a lot of fun as well. I know a lot of people have wanted Matt and I to take the show on the road. Well, we may take the show on the road.
Hopefully, yeah.
Who knows? But certainly, I'm really looking forward to it. I was over, for the last Steeler game there. The only other NFL game there. It was a preseason game, but I was there for the week for that game back in the 90s, and it was a great time. And everybody was very open and just really happy to see us and friendly, and it was just a great time all week long, and really looking forward to this one as well.
And there's been such a jump from 97 to now in the sense of the world has obviously got smaller with the internet, etc. Back in those days, people watched highlights. Well, I know it was probably a bit different towards the end of the 90s, but you have a generation there that watched highlights 1 week on. And for a lot of people, the only game that they got to watch live was the Super Bowl, and then they had to listen to the radio for like live commentary in the playoffs. So for those people today, like that's the sort of people I'm thinking of. Like the guy Tom McCormick, who was the International Fan of the Year, and ironically made probably the biggest talking point pick of the draft with Will Howard a few weeks ago in Green Bay. Guys like that there, like this means, it really does mean like an awful lot to those guys, and like I know it means a lot to everybody, but the thing that has changed, obviously the world's got a bit smaller. Dublin really is now an international hub, but more so now, Croke Park has transformed from that day into, it'll be a 76,000 capacity on the day, which is awesome to see. It'll be up there with some of the biggest attendances that have ever been recorded internationally for the league. And more so now, the thing that has changed is, and it's one thing that Cordell Stewart said when he came in the first time, he couldn't get over the difference in the stadium. it is a bit like a gladiator arena. And I could see whenever Cam Hayward walked onto the field a few weeks ago, he couldn't get over the sheer size of it. And that's really on. And we know already how many Steelers fans are going to fly over, and there's going to be a lot of them. It's our job, it's the Steelers fans' jobs to make that the Coliseum for today and really take over. And that will make a difference, especially when you're going up against a team that's really, honestly, used to traveling internationally, which is a big deal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guest has been Michael McQuaid. We'll let you.
Great stuff. Man.
We appreciate you dropping by, Michael, and we'll be talking again, I'm sure, and
maybe in person.
Maybe in person here, not too long into the future here.
It was good seeing you at the Combine too, by the way.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But Michael, you can check him out at McQuaid NFL. Lots of good stuff on there if you want to keep up on what's going on in Dublin and really in Ireland as a whole with this game. Give him a follow there on the X Twitter. I'm Dale Lolley.
Check out his podcast, too. We're both guests on that.
You can hear his podcast there as well. He's great stuff. I'm Dale Lolley. He is Matt Williamson. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We want to thank Michael McQuaid for dropping by there. Good dude. Can't wait to maybe tip a glass with him there.
Several.
We'll probably do that once or twice.
I would think.
But really exciting. And I know some Steeler fans are looking at this going, yeah, but we're losing a home game.
True.
You still have 8.
Right.
And, that really hasn't changed. They've added that. And honestly, the way Steeler fans travel everywhere as it is,
it's a pretty special opportunity.
It's a pretty special opportunity, right? And this is where the league is going. Mm-hmm. You have to jump on the train here.
Yeah, there's going to be a time where, probably in the not so far distant future, where they travel as an away team and only really have 7 away games. They'll all make up for itself. It just happens to be an odd year.
Like going to Dublin. Again, as we said, it's a 5.5-hour flight from Pittsburgh. There are other parts of the country. It's not even that far.
And I do bet there's going to be a home field advantage there.
I would think so.
I would definitely think so. It won't be AccuSure, and I know some people that are season ticket holders.
Well, Steeler fans have had an opportunity to gear up for this now since the announcement.
Yeah.
They've known since, and there were already people selling packages for this. Ahead of time, including you can check that out on Steelers.com. The package that the Steelers have with that. Whereas the Vikings, on the other hand, just found out today.
Yeah, right. I guess that's a good point. Right.
Steelers
I guess that's going to be us.
They're off to a running start on this thing.
It's been several months that we've known.
Oh yeah,
more than.
I can't tell you how many people have had to ask me, when's that game going to be? I'd like to go over.
Oh, I
can't tell you. I have no idea.
Right.
I have an idea of it's not going to be late in the season because of their
weather,
Gaelic football and everything.
Oh, because of the football, right?
Because their season starts up, but I can't tell you exactly when.
No, what I thought was cool. There was a lot of things from Michael that are great because it's just such a different perspective on the team and the sport, and talking about like the last time they were over there, the only thing that he could see was a Super Bowl start to finish, and you're listening on the radio, and but what I really stood out to me was a gladiator-like stadium. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. I will tell you this: when the Steelers went to London in 2013 and they played the Vikings, the way the crowd reacted when they sang "God Save the Queen" before every person in the stadium was singing it.
Yeah.
And our seats were out in the press box was actually out in the seating area. Like it wasn't an enclosed press box, and like the hairs on the back of your neck kind of rose up. I was like, wow, this is a big deal for these.
This is a big deal, right. And just they have different traditions.
And, it's huge. You get the soccer crowd kind of feeling.
The soccer
to it.
feel.
And I'm sure with the the Irish they'll have some traditions that they do for their Gaelic football championships and things of that nature that you try to.
Then maybe some of the implants, the people that go over will be like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but this is pretty cool.
And I will tell you, having spent the week over there back in the 90s.
In Ireland, in Dublin. Yeah.
In Dublin. It's real easy to pick up the brogue. When
you're
talking. You start like, what did I say that for?
That just slipped right out. And before you know it.
Because that's all you're hearing. You can understand what they're saying. They're speaking English the same as we are.
Well, not the same as we are.
But it's I mean, you can understand what Michael was saying there. And I'm sure he could understand what we were saying.
They're the same words.
And that's the beauty of it. like I've been to, when the Steelers went to Barcelona, when they went to, I've been basically everywhere that they've gone since '93.
Mm-hmm.
And in some of those instances, like it's difficult.
Oh, I bet there's some that there's not a lot of English being spoke.
Right.
Yeah. Some of these different places they're playing.
I joked about the Spanish thing earlier in the show. I took Spanish in high school. I took Spanish in college.
Yeah.
I don't retain any of it.
You're not good at it anymore.
And I certainly wasn't speaking the same Spanish that they were speaking in Barcelona, which is how they say it. Barcelona.
Okay.
They had their own dialect there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm lost.
Okay,
like,
this is taking it up a level, yeah. No, that's going to be cool too, though. I mean, like,
and everybody was so friendly, and you could go into the pubs and start talking with people, and it was great.
I mean, the stadium game day, the game itself will be awesome, but I'm as excited as for the pubs and that type of environment too. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of black and gold in those pubs that are local or that are close to the stadium, and people like I hadn't thought of what Michael mentioned. He said if the Steelers are on the road the week before, maybe people will go over Friday, Saturday, watch the road game, and then just stay the week.
I imagine a lot of people do want to just stay. You just want to make this your vacation.
I mean, right. And even if the Steelers are playing home and you're not going to Acrisure, you can still do that. Right.
Yeah. So it should be a lot of fun. I expect it to be something of a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the league has made these things, even though there are more of them, they're a big deal.
Oh, they're a big deal. They're always standalone games.
Yeah.
They're early. They're at an unconventional U.S. time to have a football game. And they're always huge, cool stadiums.
As we're both fantasy football players, as somebody who does that, you love. I like the early 9:30 start, just from the fact that you get that first game in. Rolls you right into the 1 o'clock game, which rolls you into the 4 o'clock games, which rolls you like it's an all day. It's all day football.
All day event, right?
It's all day football, and
it's a little tough, I think, on the West Coast people.
Don't live on the West Coast.
Don't live on the West Coast. This is, yeah. No, but it's great. Fault. It's great. You can still sleep in to some degree. Roll down from 9:30 to basically midnight. It's just
really
football,
those
right?
are what, like when I've been on the West Coast, say for a late game on the West Coast or a Monday night game on the West Coast, and you get there early. And you wake up in the morning and there's games on because from the 1 o'clock starts and it's like, or
some people love it and some
or the pregame show is already on.
Yeah,
oh, it's not. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. What's
this
the pregame
is weird,
show?
right?
It is takes a little bit to get used to. But
as many international games we have lately, I'm getting used to it too. These 9:30 starts.
The people who really get screwed on this is if you live in Hawaii.
Then you got to change your life.
I think that's a 5 hour. I think they're 5 hours behind us.
Stay up.
Yeah, 6 hours behind us. Yeah,
just stay up or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember seeing that when my wife and I went over a few years ago. Went to Hawaii, and we went to a bar near where we were staying at, and they had their NFL schedule up and everything. I'm like, what time do the games start here? I'm like 6 a.m. I'm like, okay, that's
you got to be pretty dedicated. Yeah. But hey, I mean,
I'm like, do you fill it up? And they're like, oh yeah, we fill the bar. People come in, the fans come in, if the team's playing. Yeah.
I mean, well, how did Michael have to watch
NFL?
Watch NFL his whole life, from Ireland. I mean, it's not conventional times for those guys, and they love it.
It's the game of the U.S. It's the U.S.'s premier sport.
Sure.
But it is growing internationally and
rapidly,
as it should. I mean, it's a great sport to watch.
It's a great sport to watch, and it's not that hard to follow along and figure it out. And then you can really get deeper and deeper with the intricacies of cover two, and it's not just like I sit there and watch soccer, and I'm like, these guys are kicking the ball around, but I'm sure there's a lot more going on that I don't know about.
They actually run plays and stuff.
Right.
You can't see it.
Right.
Anyways, let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And Matt, looking here at, I know you had your first rookie draft.
Yeah, I got a second one coming up Friday, and then it's just like a slurry of them. So this time of year is really fun for Dynasty because really as soon as the draft ends, since it's a full all year round project, there's times where there's really not much action. You might go to the site and be like, Johnny hasn't been there in 3 weeks. Like, so what?
Right.
I mean, there's not much going on. But now there's just people checking in left and right. You're getting trade offers, good ones, bad ones. Man, I need a running back bad. I better get on this before my rookie draft. So This is one of the most fun times in Dynasty, these couple weeks.
Well, I'm looking here now at a Pro Football Focus 2025 Superflex rookie mock draft.
Okay.
And we just wanted to see how this rolls out here.
Hope my league mates aren't listening because it's one of those deals.
So picks 1 through 6, and this is round 1.
Mm-hmm.
The first pick was Ashton Genty.
I say it's usually a quarterback. I mean, like,
Superflex as well.
That's what I mean. In Superflex, it's high percentage. It's a quarterback, but if a Saquon, a Genty, Chase, it's real high end prospects come in, you can unseat the quarterbacks. But this year's kind of weird for number 2 too.
2 in this draft, and this was an actual draft.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. They actually picked it. Okay, these aren't rankings.
Was Travis Hunter.
The one that I've only done one rookie draft so far, and it happened to be the Superflex one. And it went Hunter, McMillan, and I took Ward at 4, where...
Probably happy to do so.
Yeah, it's like I don't need a quarterback, but this guy easily could have went 2. He's going to be a starter, and he's got high-end traits. I mean, first overall quarterbacks are almost always a top 2 pick in Dynasty, no matter what they do.
3 in this draft was Omarion Hampton.
Okay. For some reason, people don't view Ward as an elite. Well, elite's a big word. Even a super high-end fantasy rookie, which I don't see. This year might be slow for him.
You heard, a lot of the analysis going into this draft. Well, he would have been 4th or 5th in last year's draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he'd have been 4th.
Let's say he's 4.
Right.
Well, the 3 guys that went ahead of him.
I'm trying to think last year. I think they were almost always the top 3 picks in Superflex rookie. Sure. And that was with Neighbors and Harrison. I mean, there were some
monster.
Dudes. Yeah, Harrison was a monster.
There were no running backs per se, but
there were comparable
receivers
dudes.
who were better than these guys.
Brock Bowers was a really highly drafted tight end. I mean, like last year's rookie class was awesome.
Travis Hunter in last year's draft, to me, is battling for the 4th or 5th wide receiver spot.
I can see that. I mean, especially what we thought Harrison was.
Yeah.
Not that he was super disappointing, but he was the ultra prospect coming out of Ohio State. So, like, Jaden Daniels was like the 1-1. I mean, people like Caleb Williams too, but Daniels' legs were wow.
Yeah. 4 in this draft was Tet McMillan.
Okay. Again, I sort of get it. I mean, if you have quarterbacks, you don't take them. But again, I actually misspoke. I got Ward at 5, like this.
That's
too.
where
Hampton
he goes.
was
5.
Gone. I figured I'll get Hampton or McMillan. Fine, But I end up like I don't need a quarterback, but I'm taking Ward here.
Yeah, he goes 5.
Mm-hmm.
At 6 is Quinshawn Judkins.
Okay. I mean, I would think it starts to get a little interesting after the top 5, whatever order they go in for this. Example though, like just thinking about last year, I got Bo Nix at like 112. I won the Super Bowl, and I got Bo Nix because people didn't look at him like he was an ultra prospect. He was quarterback 6. That's a great value. I mean, you got a starting quarterback that runs and puts up fantasy points.
7, Jackson Dart.
See, that's not for me.
Yeah.
He usually does go in first round, but when's he going to start?
There's no path to starting this year, per se.
No, but I mean, eventually, I bet he is.
I didn't love the prospect.
I don't know that next year's coaching staff will like the prospect. He won't be the opening day starter. I'm sure their season will go south, and at some point, Thanksgiving, he'll be thrown in there. But I can't take him over Travion Henderson or Judkins or, the next receiver up or any of those type of deals. What's interesting is what's happened since I did my Dynasty rookie draft. Carr retired. So I'm wondering where's Shuck going to go in this,
Yeah. At 8, Colston Loveland went.
Yeah, the tight ends will go pretty high. And that's when I kind of get out. Because rookie tight ends rarely go crazy.
And you see that he's not Brock Bowers.
No. And he goes ahead of Warren in most rookie drafts, which I understand. I think he's a better receiver, probably with a better situation, better quarterback. That head coach got a ton out of Laporta. So I understand it. But even in not super flex, like with Ward being off the board, like actually my next draft starts Friday, and I have 1-7. That's like the Loveland pick. And I'd rather be at 1-6 or go back to 1-9.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not taking him at 1-7,
At 9, Travion Henderson goes.
Okay. Henderson versus Judkins is interesting to me. Like, who would you rather have just in Dynasty period? I bet Judkins does more this year.
Is it PPR?
Yeah, almost all of them are.
Then I probably prefer Henderson.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like rookie year, I'm like if it's redraft, I might take Judkins over Henderson.
Yeah.
But I like the direction the Patriots are going, and I think the Browns are going the opposite way. O-line stuff, things like that,
10 is R.J. Harvey with the Broncos.
Yeah, he's a little old, but
I don't care.
A great way to look at running backs in Dynasty is just almost like it's redraft.
Yeah.
It's so year to year.
If I get
with
4
those
years
guys.
out of the guy, I'm
You're
happy.
real happy.
Yeah.
You're real happy, right? Especially if you get a good rookie year, which he's set up to have a really good rookie year.
11 is Emeka Egbuka.
You got to kind of wait.
That's going to.
Yeah. So that
I'm
one gets a
surprised
little hairy.
he's ahead of Golden.
He is everywhere. And I don't 100% know why, and I'm kind of torn. I think it's more, do I need to start him in week 1? I'd rather have Golden. If not, I would rather have Ibuka.
I think Golden's the better prospect.
I think they're close. Now, Dynasty community is ultra nerdy in terms of...
No.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I get a lot of my stats from that group. I mean, breakout age, things like that. There's not many examples of Golden at a late breakout age and things like that. There aren't as many models for him to succeed as others. But I'm like, he's a first-round pick of the Packers, and he's good at football.
Yeah. Do you
I
like
don't need to
Jordan
get-
Love?
Right.
Okay.
Do I have to get that nerdy with it?
Yeah.
I mean, Watson's not going to play this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if
I like Tampa Bay's situation as well, but there's more mouths to feed.
you can't start him week 1.
No.
I mean, even in a deep league, you got to wait, and maybe a year or two.
Right.
I like the player, but that's not a great situation.
12 is Caleb Johnson.
I could see that. Did Henderson come off the board yet?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Okay. Yeah. I think Johnson versus Harvey is a good conversation. If you need to start him now,
Harvey
you want
has
Harvey.
a clearer path to
Yeah.
starting.
But a year from now, you might rather have Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
Especially Harvey's 25 and Johnson's the lead back. Maybe Warren's not even in town. Like,
Starting round 2, Matthew Golden.
that's about where he's going around the turn, even in not super flex. We haven't only had one. We have 2 quarterbacks taken.
2 is Cam Scatabo.
That's where it starts to get a little early for me. Like, truthfully, I'd take Shuck over Scatabo. I'd probably take, like, Higgins. I'm a little shocked Warren hasn't gone yet. There's a couple receivers that are interesting. I don't know that Scatabo is going to be the feature guy there.
3 is Trey Harris with the Chargers.
Okay. I don't love this area of the draft, for early round 2 picks.
Yeah. 4 is Tyler Warren.
That's a pretty good value.
Yeah.
I mean, is he really that much different than Loveland, who went, like, what,
No.
6 or 7 picks later?
Do you trust the quarterback situation at all?
No. And I usually don't draft tight ends high in rookie draft, period.
5 is Jaden Higgins with the
Okay.
Texans.
I got him at like 2-3 in the draft that I did do.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit crowded there.
2-6 is Luther Burden with the Bears.
I would have taken Burden ahead of Higgins. I remember I was on deck and they were both up. I'm like, I'd be happy with either, but I think I'd prefer Burden.
8 is Jalen Milroe with the Seahawks.
He went high in my super flex too. I'm like, I'm going to be sneaky and take him. I think I had like the 3-1. I'm like, this is my Milroe pick, and he went middle of 2nd round.
Could be a home run pick. Could be not work
It's
out
so
at
worth
all.
it.
But
Would you take him ahead of Shuck though? I mean, maybe this happened even before the car news.
I would. Because here's the thing with Shuck.
I want to hit big.
Let's say Shuck starts this year for the Saints.
Right. And they stink.
They're going to stink.
They're going to stink.
They're going to draft one then next year.
Probably.
More than likely.
I mean, they haven't. Shuck's the only guy they've taken in the first 2 rounds.
This could be a Will Levis type situation.
I used that exact
Yeah.
example today on the air. Like, if you're an early 2nd round pick, you got to be pretty awesome for them to not take
They're
the
not
next
married to you. Yeah.
top 10 guy, right. And then he bounces around. Maybe he ends. I mean, if he has a good year, maybe he ends up somewhere. But that's a tough road.
Yeah. He may not help you out for 3 or 4 years.
And you're not thrilled to start him this year.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you're
not going to be a great fantasy year for him.
9 after Shuck is Bashal Tutin with the Jaguars.
I can see that. I think I would take Tootin over Scatabo.
10 is Jack Betch with the Raiders.
I'm a Betch fan. There's some receivers in this neighborhood that are pretty nice.
11, Kyle Williams with the Patriots.
That's a big-time target of mine. I've been taking him well ahead of ADP.
12, the final pick of their rookie draft, Elijah Araujo with the Seahawks.
Okay. In the draft that I did, it was later than this, but I traded a tight end, so I was a tight end short, and it was Taylor or Araujo, and I went with Taylor, but I would have been happy with either, and I even considered Ferguson, just because it seems like the Rams love him. He's fast. It's a good offense. Do you have a preference on those three for Dynasty?
My only question with Ferguson would be, who's their quarterback going to be 2 years from now?
Yeah.
Because it's probably not going to be Stafford.
Probably won't be. But you don't want to get too far ahead thinking in the Dynasty
I understand
world.
that,
yeah.
but I don't want to get stuck with...
I mean, I don't know who the Jets is either.
Right.
You know, I mean, to be honest. And
so really, Araujo gives you the best. Like Darnold, probably going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Or Milroe takes over.
Or Milroe takes over, and you're happy there, too.
Right. Now, I think Araujo is probably the best receiver of the group, but he also had some sort of injury thing that was... And I don't know if that's a long-term. I
think it was a knee or something along those lines.
Yeah, I went with Taylor because I thought he was the safest. You know, there's very little competition for catches there, too, for targets. But I think they're about the same.
Yeah, but Caleb Johnson coming in
pretty early.
Pretty early on this thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's a first-rounder in just about every rookie draft.
That's why I'm just shocked that the Steelers got him in the third round.
I am, too. I mean,
it really was maybe the steal of the draft.
It could go down as that without question. What's funny to me, too, about the fantasy world, and it really applies to this conversation, is awesome running back draft. I mean, we talked about that for months and months and months. And I'm sure some dudes that you take in the third, fourth round of rookie drafts will pop up, they always do. But there aren't many outside the top 5, Johnson, Harvey, the Ohio State guys, Genty, Hampton, the top 6, where it's like, man, I'm
That's
staying
a
on
great
the table.
situation.
Yeah, I'm going to get Tootin. I'm going to get, Scatabo or whatever. Like, they're okay, but right now
they're going to have some games.
They'll have some games,
but can you start them every week?
It might take a while.
Yeah.
Or you might need a couple injuries, and then boom, this guy looks great all of a sudden. So it's not as I thought. Like when I was looking at my teams going before the NFL draft, I'm like, I'll be light at running back, and I'll just draft like 4 of them, and 2 will hit. And now I'm not as excited to do it. Except
once
for the
you
early
see landing
picks.
spots,
yeah. Especially the mid rounds.
And I think that's why in this year's draft some of those guys lasted a little bit longer than what we presumed, just because how many teams really needed a running back?
Right, like I thought
one.
I thought the Bears would take one, didn't? I thought the Cowboys would take somebody bigger than Blue. You know what I mean? But I'm warming up to him. Maybe I'll take him. So there's not some of the spots you thought would be good landing spots didn't end up that way.
Yeah, that's just how it works out sometimes, and that's why going into a draft, you just never know how you could. No. You could love a player in a draft. You could be this is our guy. He is fantastic, but we can't move into a spot where we can trade him or trade for him.
Yeah,
and he's going to be gone before we get the opportunity to take him, or sometimes they fall.
Another example too for like this conversation is. We did a lot of mock drafts where Damian Martinez is going in 3, 4. We might even take him in 4 for the Steelers. He goes to Seattle behind Charbonnet and Walker in the 7th round.
Right.
It's like one of the guys I liked best. All of a sudden, it's like, man, I can't wait around for 3 years with him on my dynasty team because they're going to draft somebody over him anyway. Like what's the chances?
He's going to be returning kicks or something.
Right. I mean, even if Walker moves on, they'll probably use a 2nd-round pick on a running back next year. You know what I mean? Like he's in trouble.
Yeah,
there's a couple of those. Yeah, it is.
That's the way it goes. I know
very quick.
We talked up this draft in terms of the running back class, and I do think that there are going to be several hits.
There will be
in this class, but it may not be as fantasy relevant as we thought it was.
Back to your point with the Steelers, getting Johnson in the 3rd round was like, we don't have as much ambiguity or grayness to it. It's like he's the guy. He's gonna get opportunity. Boom. Well, let's just roll with that as opposed to the 5th round guy you hope hits.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. That was the Fantasy Football Focus here today. Some people like it. Other people don't.
You learn a lot about the league. I mean, there's so many fantasy tools out there.
There's more to it than just, we're going to look at who these guys. No, you figure.
Right. we're trying to project the future in the dynasty world. What's this guy going to be like in 2 years? Is quarterback more valuable than running backs? I mean, there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app, get the show right on your phone. You don't have to do anything. Or you can watch along on YouTube and give us a thumbs up there. Leave us your comments.
Spread the word, man.
Spread the word. Ask questions. Do all that stuff. Matt, Trevor Sikkema.
He joined us at the Combine. Yeah, Trevor does great work.
Pro Football Focus. He has put together his off-season grades for every team now.
It's funny because yesterday I listened to the podcast about this. So it must have came out before it hit Pro Football Focus. And Trevor and I forget who the co-host was, went team by team. And they're talking about, like, from what I recall, I mean, they're talking about coaching changes, free agency.
The whole deal.
He's
Everything
a
to
draft
this
guy,
point.
But it's really your entire offseason.
Yeah.
Right?
So looking at the teams here, he gave the Arizona Cardinals a B+
Okay.
for their offseason.
Tend to agree. I mean, I would like to see a little more focus on offense, one more receiver. I mean, we can nitpick. You only have so many resources.
Right.
You
can't fix everything in an offseason.
They could use one more O lineman. They could use one more pass catcher. But they went crazy on D linemen. And remember where this team came from. They're Eagle descendants.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
For the Falcons, they got a C+.
Because a lot of it's they mortgaged the first-round pick. I mean, they didn't have a lot of resources after the Penix and after what they spent on Cousins.
If they traded Cousins tomorrow, does that change their grade?
But to pull back the curtain, listening to the podcast, it's like, well, if the Steelers sign Rodgers tomorrow, that changes their grade.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the Steelers.
We get there, but it's sort of similar, except that they're not. The Steelers would be gaining something.
Well, they'll get something in return for trading Cousins.
I just think they'd get a really late round pick.
I don't know if it'd be really late. I think
it's like a 5th or 6th, depending who's going to take money.
Right.
That's what.
How much money are you willing to take on?
Right.
The more money you take on, the
cheaper he's going to be.
The cheaper he's going to be. If the Falcons have to eat some money, it might be a 3.
At most, I would say, if they took the brunt of the money. Yeah.
The Ravens get an A-.
They always do, but they're also pretty good at this. Keeping Stanley's big for me. That had to be priority 1. I'm still a little worried about the guards, though.
Letting McCarry go was to me was
you couldn't do both.
I get it, but you then went and spent money on DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, draft was
not
good.
that those were equal amounts.
No, they're not the same. They're not the same.
I would have figured out a way to keep McCarry around, knowing just how much he's the glue in that offensive line because he can play a bunch of different spots for them.
This is a bad question because the answer was really yes for 90% of the teams because nothing bad's happened yet.
Right.
But are they a better team than when we saw them last? The answer is yes, but not by leaps and bounds. It's not like, they didn't add Metcalf.
Henry got a year older.
Everybody's a year older.
Yeah.
And right. Exactly.
That doesn't matter for Lamar, but now Henry's, 31?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, so is Cam Hayward, so is Watt.
At some point, but they're not running backs.
Right.
The Bills get an A-.
I like that it was so defensive heavy. I would have liked to seen another safety, though. They've had such great safety
I would have liked to
play.
seen 2 safeties because DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp is a below-the-line
It's bad.
duo.
I forget they did use a day 2 pick on a safety last year that had traits.
Yeah.
I forget his name off the top of my head. So I think they're counting on him, but at least one more.
Carolina gets an A.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't love Tet McMillan, but I see the logic
addressed a
in
need,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and the defense was so bad. They put a lot into the defense. I mean, the defense might go from the worst to below average. That's a step in the right direction. Rome wasn't built in a day, once again.
The Bears get an A+.
I understand it because listening to the podcast, the Ben Johnson hire, they spent a lot, but they rebuilt the interior of the O-line.
Sure.
Some things I don't like about the Bears, though, in a running back heavy draft, I would have got. They
didn't get anybody.
I'd have got a 5th round pick or something because I don't trust Swift and Roshan Johnson's just a dude. And I thought they overspent on the D linemen, the edge guys. And Bingo, I crush his name, but he's like one of the highest paid edge players in the league, and he's very average.
The Bengals get a C+. They've been getting lauded a lot. Well, they kept T. Higgins. Yeah, they kept T. Higgins. Trey Hendrickson shows up for their off-season workouts today in street clothes and doesn't do anything.
Yeah, the Schefter reported
they haven't spoken.
I'm not doing a thing.
He's not going to do anything. He may not play for them this year.
He may not play for them this year. He could be the next guy to get traded. And I don't think the defense really got any better.
No, I don't think
the
it
guard
did either.
position really didn't get any better. They're so dependent on those three.
Yeah, and it's a good three to be dependent on.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
but it's fragile.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Cleveland gets a C.
There's such mixed opinions on them. I don't see it. I don't know how I would weight keeping Garrett, but frankly, I'd rather almost have the picks if I were them. But I understand keeping them, and I don't even care about the money. They put
themselves in that situation.
Right.
Again, I don't want people to misconstrue this. Like I would not be in favor of the Steelers trading T.J. Watt.
Right.
But I think the Steelers are in a different situation than the Browns are with Myles Garrett.
And
because of what they did to themselves.
Right. With the Watson. The Steelers would never make the Watson move.
Yeah.
Neither would 30 other teams. Plus, Watt never demanded a trade. Garrett demanded a trade. And then to sit out, just take a lot of money instead.
Same thing Watson did to them.
Right.
He was out. Cleveland's off my list, and they backed up a big truckload of money and said, "Oh, no, I'm going to go to Cleveland."
And then the other news too that we've suspected for a while is JOK goes on that.
He's done for the year.
Yeah, on the really bad list. Yeah.
Yeah, done for the year. Will not play football this year. Maybe never again. It's a neck issue.
I say we talked about Carolina. Jonathan Brooks is on that.
Don't be ashamed. He's a good young player.
He's a great young player. I really liked him, but that's not a good sign.
The Cowboys get a C+.
Not a lot of well, did the coaching change make them better? I don't think.
Everybody killed the coaching change.
We're going to say it was very banal. I mean, I don't know that it's like, whoa, that's a splash move. Pickens is their biggest move, which is fine. I mean, they needed another receiver for sure. But they're not very active as a team anymore.
Yeah.
They're so draft reliant.
Denver gets an A.
I agree. I think the defense is still really, really strong. Pick up Ingram on the cheap. They didn't do a ton.
So their big defensive signings, Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga.
Yeah, I was thinking more about Barron in the first round.
But they're kind of two guys who have been a little banged up over the course of their career.
They have. I mean, right up the middle. They're big-time playmakers, fly around. Can they stay on the field, guys?
That's the big question I have with them.
100%. That is a concern. One more receiver wouldn't have broke my heart either.
Yeah, it's a little late there.
Like, I bet their first-round pick next year is a wideout. Sutton's not young.
Detroit gets a B-. I
didn't love their draft.
They swapped out Carlton Davis for DJ Reed, which I think is an upgrade.
I guess that's an upgrade. I don't know how much they're weighting it, but you lose two coordinators. I mean,
it's hard to.
That's not an easy thing to overcome.
Right. The Packers get a C-.
What don't we like about them? Not a lot of splash. I don't dislike the draft. Didn't do much in free agency.
No.
Yeah. I mean, last year there was Josh Jacobs and McKinney, and they were kind of went outside the box a little bit.
Houston gets a D.
I could see the O-line stuff really being worrisome.
All you did, you shuffled the chairs around a little bit, but did you make any changes?
I don't know that it's
Did you get
worse.
better?
Right. Receiving group looks better. Coordinator change. Defense is pretty solid. I don't know if I'd have been that hard on them.
The Colts get a B+.
Considering the options, I like grabbing Daniel Jones. He's a professional quarterback.
They did lose Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze, though.
I wish they would have done more with the O-line when two starters.
But that was, that was a strength for them for years.
Right, and now it's, I mean, Bortolini. I like the D coordinator hire, which since he lost.
Jacksonville gets a B+.
Sweeping changes, new GM, new coach, trade up for Hunter. That doesn't mean good.
Doesn't mean good.
I mean, it's aggressive.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Everybody was lauding the kid, and I call him a kid because he looks like he's a kid.
Yeah. He's young.
I don't know if he's any good or not. I mean, he made some bold moves.
Yeah, he made some bold moves. I mean, he put his stamp on the team for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, that's all Lawrence.
He gave up too much, but what do I know? Kansas City gets a B.
A lot of O-line changes.
Trading Joe Thuney and counting on Kingsley Suamataia to be your starting
Left guard is worrisome.
That's a
I think it came
downgrade.
down to Smith or Thuney.
Signing Jalen Moore.
I don't think that's going to pay off.
I don't think that's going to pay off. They overpaid for him.
Right. I do think getting Simmons in the first round is a gift, whether he plays soon or not. Okay,
they have the deodorant though to cover up mistakes.
Of course, they don't draft and acquire players as well as people think. It's nice when you have Kelsey, Spagnuolo, Reed, and Mahomes.
Yeah. The Raiders get an A-.
I think they're relevant again. It's been so long since they're relevant, from Brady to Carroll to the offensive coordinator that they hired from Ohio State, and Geno and Genti. I mean, it's a lot different group than it was.
They've changed the culture.
Yeah, they sure did.
Chargers get a C+.
I was critical of them when I broke them down because, if you recall, only the Patriots had more salary cap space than the Chargers.
They really didn't.
And didn't do a lot with it.
Yeah.
Bosa
That's what everybody was pointing to.
Right.
They made all these moves last year so they could make a big splash next year.
Yeah, they had to kind of eat their vegetables last year, and they didn't do a whole lot.
Mekhi Becton doesn't move the needle for me.
He's okay, but where are the defensive playmakers? Where's the D tackle? Poona Ford left. He's a good player. Bosa left. Hampton's fine, but still running back the first round. You know?
The Rams get a B+.
Devontae Adams goes a long way for me. Yeah. They kept their left tackle at a pretty good price.
Kept their quarterback.
Yeah, I guess he was up in the air. They added Poona Ford and a couple more linemen to an already deep D line. What if they land Jalen Ramsey? That's a pretty good offseason.
I would have been more harsh on this team. Miami.
Me too.
They get a C+.
Plus, the Rams also have a future first pick.
Yeah.
They have the Falcons. Miami's in trouble because they have massive cap stuff. I was hearing today the amount of money, that I don't know the exact number, but the percentage of cap that Tua, Tyreek, and Ramsey eats up is astronomical. And they're really handcuffed for a year or two financially.
Nobody has made a deal. Ramsey's been available for, a month?
Right. And
nobody's knocking down their door.
I think you could get Tyreek Hill, too, and he's doesn't seem to be moving.
These are things they did to themselves. They signed Ramsey and Tyreek Hill last year.
Right. They gave up a pretty good pick to go get Big Jonah from Arizona. They got cap problems.
The Vikings get a B+.
I like the Bears. I really respect building an entire interior O-line. That's not easy to do in one offseason. And even 2 to 3 hit, that goes a long way. McCarthy's really in a nice spot.
But the defense is
2 D tackles that are older, Hargrave.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was, hey, Coach Flores.
Yeah.
This is why you're so good, but we're not giving you much.
Scheme this up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not giving you much.
The Patriots get an A+. They spent the most money of anybody in free agency
they
had it.
Add a lot in the draft.
Here's the thing.
I wouldn't give anyone an A+.
I heard this in the team that has spent the most money in free agency every year has improved their lot by 2.5 or 3 games in the next season.
It's not as much as you think. Is your point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they won 4 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get to 7 wins this year, 6 or 7 wins this year, is that going to be enough? Knowing if I'm Robert Kraft and I wrote all those checks for all these signing bonuses and stuff?
Yeah, I think that's more like, well, then the year after that, am I at 9?
Right.
The year after that,
you got to keep growing, and you're probably not going to make that kind of jump.
You probably won't be able to add as much.
You're not going to add as much,
but as the Hendersons and Kyle Williams and all the dudes you drafted.
The problem then becomes at some point your quarterback is going to get paid.
Mm-hmm. But we've had this conversation with them too. Like, they had all this cap money, but they didn't have anyone to even give it to on their team. Now hopefully, Campbell is worth a big bag of money.
Yeah. The Saints get a D-.
I think it's terrible. They don't know when to punt. They just keep hanging on.
Yeah.
So I don't see the vision.
The Giants get a B-.
Okay. They kept the coach and GM in which I don't have a problem with. unless you're only going to keep him for a year after they draft Dart and the next guy has to inherit. And we've seen that.
You can't think that way. Though.
You can't. You got to live for today.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter's a nice addition. Yeah, it's a fine offseason.
The Jets get a B.
Yeah, I think they realize maybe we have something in Fields. In the meantime, we'll build an O-line. We're not a contender this year. I like the coach hire, but it's going to be a rough season.
Yeah. The Eagles get a B.
Okay. Not crazy changes.
They lost a coordinator.
They lost a coordinator. They lost Becton. They did keep Bond, which I think was a big move for them. They lost some D-line help, but they drafted a little bit of it. They lost Slay. I mean, that's a valuable contributor.
Yeah, Sweat, Milton Williams.
Yeah. There's some. They lost more than they gained.
Yeah. The 49ers get a D.
They lost a lot, and I didn't really love their draft. Traded Debo, and what do you really have to show for it? Yeah, I tend to agree.
The Seahawks get a B.
I'm cool with it, but I might have just kept Geno.
I mean, for what you're paying, you got a little younger.
You got younger, and
not as young as
you got to pick
30.
Is he?
Or close to it. He may not be quite 30 yet, but
I don't know that he had to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Metcalf had to go because they had such cap problems.
Yeah.
But trading Geno and then giving the money to Darnold is kind of a wash.
Right.
He picked up a third-round pick in the mix. Defense looks good.
The Buccaneers get an A-. Lost their offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm. They seem to every year now.
Igbuka's
a nice pickup, a kind of a luxury pick. The other draft was mostly defense. They kept Godwin. Their biggest need, I thought, was linebacker, and they didn't address it.
Yeah. You got Levante David back for his 87th year.
Yeah, it's a quality organization, though.
Tennessee, a C+.
It's a tough one because you don't need to give them credit for taking the quarterback 1-1, but it did happen. I mean, they now have a quarterback to build around.
I think their big thing is they built an offensive line.
Yeah, they have a real O-line now. And I wouldn't say that about the Patriots. They now have 5 real starters on the O-line. That's something to be, a start. It's going to be a long year for them, too.
The Commanders get an A-.
Yes, but the defense looks worse.
Yeah,
the offense has a lot around them now, but where's the edge pass rush coming?
Guys you're counting on like Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner.
They're just Eckler. And,
they're getting old.
Those old dudes. Right,
Not just old.
Yeah, I don't know that you were just like, we need 2 pieces to get over the hump because we were a Final Four team. Like, I still worry about the defense. Front 7.
Yeah. Which brings us finally to the Steelers. They get a C-.
Yeah,
and he said that the
quarterback,
the Rodgers situation could change that. You subbed out DK Metcalf for George Pickens. You gave a round in the draft to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you gave one, you picked one up.
Right. Which is a future thing. Right.
Not in the same round.
And it cost you more money, cap space.
Yeah. And you had your draft. You said he likes the additions of Slay and Derek Harmon and Caleb Johnson.
Mm-hmm. The big thing that they've stressed on the
quarterback
podcast
situation
is we have to grade what we're looking at now.
I get it.
Your quarterback situation, as it stands, is one of the worst in the league. So I can't give you a great grade.
Dan Orlovsky today on, I think, the McAfee show said that the Steelers' offense is the least scary in the NFL. Now, I think that's wrong.
I think that's wrong.
Telling me the Saints' offense is scarier. You're telling me the Browns' offense is scarier. You're telling me who else did I think of? The Titans' offense is scarier.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't tell me that the Jets' offense is necessarily scarier.
I agree that it's wrong, but what we're looking at today
right now,
on May 13th.
But he's even saying if they I don't know. I think if you sign Rodgers, does that go from a C- to a C? Does it go to a C+? Does it go to a B?
I think they said they would jump it up a whole letter grade.
Okay.
Trevor said, and then I go to a B-. I understand the plan, and I think that's coming. I just can't grade something that hasn't happened yet. You didn't take the test. I can't give you a grade. But back to where Orlovsky's saying, the offense, the vision of Rodgers throwing to Pickens and everything there that's in place, as opposed to neither one of those things being in place now. But we think different things are going to happen between now and when you play football.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that Seattle's offense is necessarily super scary right now.
No. I mean, Cooper Kupps and Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
But their O-line's not very good.
Right.
Right.
They got issues.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I could.
There's maybe up to 10 of them that are in the same neighborhood or worse.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right. And that's not
right.
even considering Rodgers signing.
That's the thing, is I think that shoe's going to drop, and I think there will be a receiver added.
Yeah.
If they line up with this crew, well, they better win games 13-9.
That's what you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, today, they don't play games today.
They don't play any today. I just, for people who just roll with Mason Rudolph. Look,
I hear that all the time.
I like Mason Rudolph. Mason's a great guy.
And they'd be in really bad shape if he didn't sign.
If you had to have Mason Rudolph start, again, a 3-game stretch for you, okay, great.
Oh, yeah,
fine.
you sleep easy, yeah.
But
I mean, I hear people saying just roll Will Howard out there, too. I'm like, he's a 6-round pick, guys. You've never even seen him play in the NFL, and you're just going, he's the answer. They found the
idea that the Steelers coaching staff didn't give Mason a chance. They see him every day in practice.
Yeah. They want to win.
They want to win. The idea is to win games, and maybe there was some residual stuff from early in Mason's career with the coaching staff. Like they decided at some point, we can't go this route. I mean, they are the ones that actually benched him in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Now, he was coming off a start against the Browns where he got clubbed over the head with the helmet and then was called a racist. So there were some circumstances surrounding that start, but he didn't play well in that game against Cincinnati. I can't argue it.
No, right.
But there were circumstances, but when he came back, he played well.
Yes.
And then got hurt. And
that was a bummer, too.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, boy, he's starting to get momentum back, and I remember he got hurt versus the Jets in that game. But the league is not exactly said...
Nobody has said...
Screaming that this guy's a clear
Mason
starter.
Rudolph's a clear starter. That has not happened.
And, folks, they're not going to just play a guy so that they get 5 wins. I mean,
not going to happen either.
That's not the goal either.
Nor do they just play a guy just to see what he can do. That doesn't happen. They see what he can do in practice every day.
Yeah, Will Howard's going to play a lot in the preseason. They'll see what he can do there.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be third and inactive.
At the end of you play 17 games. There's only 17. You're not going to throw a guy in there just to see how it goes.
You're right. I mean, if you're eliminated in week 18,
that's different.
Or if you got the number 1 seed locked up, Will Howard, it's your start. Go, but that's not how it works.
That's not how this works. You're trying to win every game possible, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to put your best foot forward on the field because, again, you only get 17 chances to do it. It's not like baseball where you can just throw Henry Davis out on the field and see what he can do for a week. Okay.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
That's different.
Right? Yeah, that's different. Right.
This is a different situation.
No, it's a starting quarterback.
It's a starting quarterback.
Right.
If it doesn't work, it bogs everything down. We've seen bad situations, quarterbacks who are not ready to play thrown in there, and it's ugly.
And Rudolph's ready to play, and he's very valuable.
He can do it.
Right. But
we've seen it.
There's other options that are available that give you a better chance to win, in my opinion.
And that's the idea, to win.
Right.
Win. Anyways, let's get to a break. That's going to do it. That was Trevor Sakema's off-season grades. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, we mentioned the thing with Trey Hendrickson and the
this is
Bengals.
heating up all of a sudden.
He's saying that he won't play on his current deal.
Yeah, I mean, he flat out.
Might not play. He won't play.
What I had read yesterday or the day before was, hey, I haven't had any talks. I'm not real happy. And I guess Cincinnati just is not talking to him at all. Like, you're under contract. We're not going to bend for you. And they're very rigid. I mean, they're the worst team to get in this argument with.
Yeah.
And they'll just history shows that they won't trade you and they'll let you sit or whatever. You're under contract. But he's by far their best defensive player on a defense that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's keeps you out of the playoff type of move. Or keeps you out of even contention. He's asking so much from Burrow.
His base salary right now is $15.8 million. He led the league in sacks last year. He was second 2 years ago.
I think 29, 30, something like that.
He's 30.
Okay.
But he's still an effective pass rusher.
Very. Put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, or I mean, there's a lot of teams that could absorb $15 million. I don't think he costs you a first-round pick. Second.
I think from what I heard, it's when people would call about him, the Bengals were over asking, like, "Oh, we'll trade him, but we want two. We want 2 first-round picks."
This isn't like a big trade secret. They're the hardest team to deal with in the league.
Yeah.
In terms of, they don't trade during the draft. They don't trade their players very often. It's pretty rare for a player to flat out sit out.
So and that's the thing. Like, he's under contract.
Yeah.
And he's a veteran player. He's not on his rookie deal. So if he starts sitting out, he starts missing games, they have to fine him, and it's mandatory. You can't waive those fines.
It's not an opinion thing. And,
no.
Oh, by the way, he doesn't get his week 1 check, his week 2 check, and there's fines on top of it.
It'd be about $15.8 million, about $800,000+ a week in fines that you would.
And I'm sure
incur.
he has money, but that's not a fun year. And then all of a sudden you're 31. Or,
if you're doing something like that, you better be damn sure you're going to win the negotiation. But here's the thing with the Bengals. Let's say he sits out all of training camp.
Yeah, which seems likely.
Which seems very likely at this point.
Right.
And takes us into the regular season. What's been their problem the last couple of years? Actually, as long as they've had Joe Burrow. Slow starts.
Oh, I was thinking just the defense in general stinks.
Well,
right. But their slow starts.
Slow starts have been an issue.
Yeah. I have the coaching staff's to blame for that because they don't play anybody in the preseason. Yeah. And I know Burrow's had a lot of camp injuries, and I think he had like a kidney issue. One of his organs was, so you don't play him and get it. I think it was something like that, right? I remember even being in Latrobe, he got carted off the one time in practice. So he has not had easy preseasons and training camps. But they always start so slow. And by the end of the year, it's like, boy, nobody wants to play the Bengals, but they fall a game short because of what happened in September.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, if you do give him the contract he deserves, that's a ton of your cap with 4 players.
Yeah.
And they're the right ones, but that's a real top-heavy build. If you deal him now, you're not going to have anything at defensive end.
Right.
You'll get future picks.
Well, even at that, their first-round draft pick
he's not ready.
Shows up for rookie minicamp and says, I'm not signing the waiver to practice. I'm not going to go out there and sign this waiver and go get hurt.
Oh, I didn't miss it. I missed that.
Yeah. So he didn't do anything at their rookie minicamp, and he's not going to do anything.
I won't in minicamps
until he gets a contract.
And he needs all the reps he can get. And, again, they're not exactly great at developing talent, and he's on defense.
And he's raw.
And that
was the knock.
That's a coaching staff draft pick. We'll give you a raw specimen, turn him into something. Well, their history's not great with that, and he's not a great football player now. Yeah. Might be someday. Who knows? Man, that might be the worst defense in the league. It was in contention last year. Carolina was like historically bad, but they didn't have any good players, and Derek Brown was hurt.
Every time the Bengals played, for the most part, when they played a good football team, it turned into a shootout.
Yeah. And even remember yesterday's show, now I don't agree that their O-line is 32, but if it's even in contention for 32, Burrow could be Superman. But if you have the worst O-line and worst defense in the league, like a
little rough.
Yeah. I mean,
and again, because you're paying the quarterback and 2 wide receivers so much money.
Yeah. And you've missed on so many defensive draft picks so far.
And they're not a team that acquires a bunch of draft picks because they pretty much just...
They never do. They pick 21. They pick 21 in every round. You're right. They never move around.
They don't move around. They don't trade. They don't move down. They don't...
The comp game never works in their
doesn't work for them.
They're very static, right.
You're not going to have enough quality draft picks to fix an offensive line and defensive line. And
especially when you keep missing on them.
Yeah.
Miles Murphy and all these dudes, they keep drafting on defense. Who's good? Maybe 1 or 2 of them take a step forward. They better.
Yeah. You hope.
That's the thing. It's more than 1 or 2 need to take a step forward, but none of them are super promising at this point.
Yeah.
And even the linebacker they took in the second round, I thought that was like 2 rounds too high. Yeah, did they need 2 linebackers?
Maybe
2 linebackers, 2 guards.
Might need 5.
A running back and a D end. They only drafted 4 positions.
Right.
Of course, they only made their picks. Didn't trade a future pick for anything. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a rough build.
Right. And again, what if T. Higgins has an ankle for 1 week probably lose that game. Almost no matter who you play.
Yeah, and
we'll see.
Yeah. So,
but this Hendrickson stuff's real news.
It is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. We'll see how this works out.
And it sounds like the organization's ignored it, and he's like, "Hey, I deserve at least to have a conversation. You can't have a conversation with me."
Right.
That's bad business.
It's exactly what's not happening with T.J. Watt.
True. Right.
Like, this is not going to be contentious.
It's not a closed door situation, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, that's going to do it for today's show. So, for my partner,
schedule release tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Tomorrow night,
Big day tomorrow night. We won't know the schedule yet when we show tomorrow.
Reconvene, right?
So we'll have to talk about something else. Maybe we'll go over the opponents a little bit.
We got Labs.
A little bit of a preview. We have Bob Labriola.
Yep.
But for my partner, Matt Williamson, no, actually, we won't have Labs tomorrow because he'll be busy.
Oh, okay.
No
I didn't know
Labs
that.
tomorrow.
Okay.
So for my partner, Matt Williamson, we'll try this again and again and again until we get it right. Matt Williamson for Justin Miller here, running the Justin Miller hotline, and really had to go through a lot to get us Michael McQuaid on the air today.
It's harder than it looked.
Harder than it looked to get somebody from another continent on the show.
Yep.
For Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure that our video gets out there on the YouTube. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.